Recording in progress.
Welcome everybody. It's September 5th at 1:30. I'd like to call the BOA meeting to order. Can we get a determination of quorum, please?
Rob Pierce.
Present.
Peter Gashon.
Present.
Kathy Julian. Present. Leo Harishny.
Present.
And Dan Christensen will not be in attendance for today's meeting. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Will you all please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have the ethics law announcement, please?
Thank you. Board members are reminded that if with respect to any matter or any person coming before the board today, you have received a gift or loan, you have a pecuniary interest, you have a commitment in a private capacity, such as a family, employment, business, or similar relationship, or if you've provided representation or counseling before an agency to a person or entity for compensation within the last year on a matter being considered, you must disclose that gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation at the time the matter is being considered. And you must furthermore abstain from deliberation or voting on the matter if it is clear that the gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation would materially affect the independence of judgment of a reasonable person. Board members are also reminded under the Board of Adjustment rules, if you've had any contact outside this meeting with any persons interested in a matter coming before the board, you should disclose the nature of that contact at this meeting. The Zoom instructions: this meeting will be held in the County Commission chambers via Zoom. To attend via Zoom, please log into a Zoom webinar using the link found on the Board of Adjustment agenda. You can also join by typing zoom.us into your computer browser and entering the meeting ID 872-1567-5749. Alternatively, people can join the meeting via telephone only by calling 1-669-900-9128 and entering the meeting ID 872-1567-5749 and pressing pound. For those wishing to provide public comment via Zoom, utilize the raise hand feature during any public comment period. To provide public comment via telephone only, press *9 to raise hand and *6 to mute or unmute the device.
Thank you. Can we have the appeal procedure, please, Mr. Wood?
Most decisions rendered by the Board of Adjustment are appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. If you disagree with the decision of the Board of Adjustment and qualify as an aggrieved person or party, you may appeal in writing within 10 calendar days from the date that the decision being appealed is reduced to writing, filed with the Secretary of the Board of Adjustment, and mailed to the original applicant in the proceeding being appealed in accordance with Washoe County Code. Please call the planning staff immediately at 328-3610 for information on the appeal procedure and application fee.
Thank you. This time I'd like to open up public comment. Do we have any general public comment?
There is no general public comment in chambers or Zoom.
All right, with that I'll close general public comment, bring it back to item number 6, approval of today's agenda. I have not heard of any changes, so can I get a motion to accept as written?
Peter Gashon, for the record, I'll move to accept the September 5, 2024 agenda.
Kathy Julian, I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to number 7, approval of the August 1st draft minutes. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at it? Do we have any changes, or can I get a motion to accept?
Leo Harishny for the board. I move that we accept the draft meeting minutes as printed.
Kathy Julian, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. All right. So moving on to the public hearing items. The first item is 8A, amendment of conditions case number WAC 24-0009 for WSUP 23-0002, the incline IVGID tank. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce it?
Yeah, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an amendment of conditions for special use permit WSUP 23-0002 to amend conditions of approval 1E to allow heavy equipment construction activities between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday with expanded hours of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for the pre-stressed cable installation. And representing Washoe County on this matter is Planner Julie Olander.
Julie, floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Julie Olander with Planning and Building. So this is an amendment to a special use permit. Amendment to a special use permit that was approved, SUP 23002. And what they're proposing to do is add some extra construction hours to allow them to add this pre-stressed cable installation. So on June 1st of this year, the Board of Adjustment heard this item, the special use permit, which was for the utility use to expand the facility up there at Incline Village, and that was approved. The tank that they were trying to, they're in the process of construction is a 40-foot high, 99 feet in diameter, and holds 2 million gallons of affluent storage as a affluent water storage tank. This is just the site plan, and I've highlighted in yellow where the tank is. So you can see there's already existing equipment on the property. And then this is some information that the applicant provided on showing where the tank was and where the nearest resident was. So it is a pretty isolated site by distance to residents, and then also by just all the tree coverage that's up there. And as I said, this is this is a proposal to the condition of approval that was approved in June. So there's asking for the sentence that's bolded: heavy equipment construction activities shall be allowed Monday through Saturday from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for the stress cable installation. And that map I showed before, I just wanted to show you how far. So they're working during the nights, and I just want to show you how far they are from people, residences, and then also just that there's a lot of tree coverage that also will buffet any sound. The property owners within 500 feet of the site, which was about 49 parcels, were noticed. I didn't receive any comments, any emails or phone calls, and no neighborhood meeting was required for this amendment of conditions. Staff can make all the findings, and a possible motion is available in the staff report. I'm available for any questions, and then the GID is also here available for any questions.
Thank you. Would the applicant wish to make a presentation or say anything?
Thank you. No presentation. I guess just for reference, we did.
Can you state your name for the record? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Hudson Klein, Incline Village GID Engineering Manager. And the only bit of information not listed in Julie's presentation is that this was requested of TRPA as well under their permit. They had the same hour restrictions, and they have accepted the nighttime works. But at that, otherwise, just here to answer questions, should you have any.
Okay, thank you. This time, I'd like to open up public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter?
There is no public comment in chambers or Zoom.
Okay, close public comment, bring it back to the board. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Kathy Julian for the record. For the IFGID, you said you found soil conditions when you were excavating that necessitated more time. Can you explain exactly what kind of conditions you found and how much more work that is?
I can. Simply put, it was an existing storage pond in the location where this tank is, and that required about 4 feet of cut from the existing floor prior to construction to meet the grade conditions for the project. And in doing that, we ran into soft, old organic materials that wasn't meeting the bearing capacity needed for that spread of the foundation. There are limitations to the differential settlement that is appropriate for the type of slab and tank design that is proposed. And so in that case, we had to do some over-excavation and kind of chasing the extents of that unsuitable material, and then buttress the ground conditions as appropriate to provide the suitable bearing capacity for that tank.
And just one of the other losses to time that we're using this night to make up, these proposed night works to make up for, was, if you remember, there was that sort of Cinco de Mayo storm, big 2-3 foot snowstorm that hit the basin, and that Tahoe regulations, you cannot grade when there is snow or mud on the ground, basically. So we lost a week there as well. It was about 2 weeks in total, and we're hoping to make up about 7 days with these night
Great,
works.
thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No? Oh, go ahead.
Peter Gashon for the record. I guess I'm just curious, what is a pre-stressed cable, and what sort of equipment will you be using to complete the work?
The nature of the tank, it's reinforced concrete, so it's effectively precast panels that were put up for both the roof and the wall. And what provides the structural support to resist the forces of the fluid trying to push out of that is wire cable wrapped around the entire circumference, about 2,000 total wraps from top to bottom. And that's pre-stress. It's pulled from a diameter of 0.192 down to 0.160, and effectively that eliminates the stretchiness of the steel cable itself. And so we are proposing to use a loader with a trailer behind it that has the 2 spools of the cable and a man lift to pre-position because it has to go from the 40 foot up all the way down to the toe of the tank at ground level. And we'll have 3 guys on site, that loader and the man lift, and we are able to, by virtue of site controls and the lack of personnel or the small amount of personnel on site, we can turn off the reverse alarms and what would have been the most, sort of audible aspect of any of that work.
Thanks.
Okay, this is Rob for the record. I got another question following along with that. How much noise is this going to produce in the middle of the night?
It'll be minimal. It's a running loader, and half the time it'll be obscured by the tank itself with the highway in between relative to the nearest residence. So frankly, I would expect the ambient noise from the highway to exceed anything that's escaping site.
Okay.
So it's a one diesel motor.
All right. And you said that you disconnect the backup alarms?
That's right. And it's a forward-only process just by the nature of it, because everything's tailing out and strung out behind it.
Okay.
So practically, we won't be any reverse movements.
All right. Well, we didn't have any public comment on it, so I guess everybody's okay. But all right. I just wanted to get clarification on that. Any other questions? No? Okay. I'll open the floor up for a motion.
Okay. Kathy Julian for the record. I'll make a motion. Make sure I have the right one. I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approve amendment of conditions case number WAC 24-0009 for Incline Village General Improvement District, IFGID, with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.810.30, that consistency, improvement, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, and effect on a military installation.
All right. Do we have a second?
Leo Harishny, I second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That brings us on to 8B, Administrative Case Permit WAD MIN 24-0009 for Summit Christian Church. And I do have a disclosure. I do know the applicant on this, but I am not directly involved in this process at all. So I do not think that me knowing the applicant is going to affect my voting on this. Okay. Mr. Lloyd, would you please announce it?
Yeah. For hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an administrative permit in accordance with Washoe County Code 110-808-25, as required by Washoe County Code Section 110-216-80, Table 2C, for religious assembly use type in the public, semi-public facilities regulatory zone, to construct a 10,000 square foot administrative office building as an addition to an existing religious facility. Once again, representing Washoe County in this matter is Planner Julie Olander.
All right. Julie, the floor is yours. I don't think your microphone's
Oh,
on.
it's on.
There it is. They just turned it on for you.
So this is an administrative permit that is required per Table 110, 21680. It's part of the Spanish Springs area, planning area, and that requires for an expansion of the religious assembly that they get an admin permit because they're expanding. The building's going to be 10,000 square feet. So the site, as many of you know, is off Pyramid Highway. And that's the location of it showing on this map. Just to give you a little background on the church, in 2001, they came in for a special use permit to expand the site 33,000 square feet. And then in 2019, they had a special use permit for grading for 50,000 cubic yards of material and then an expansion of 34,000 square feet. So the permit in 2001 is basically for the original building, and then in 19 is for an expansion. The applicant has indicated that the church has expanded over the years and that church staff has expanded also. They've got 31 full-time employees and 12 part-time. The employees currently are sort of spread out throughout the campus, and so building this new building will allow the church to locate staff all in one building. I also want to indicate that the applicant is also expanding their daycare facility. However, that is allowed in this zoning classification and also by the Spanish Springs area plan. But it was something that they noted in their application. At that time, we thought that they needed a permit, an admin permit for that. But after further investigation, we found that that was allowed in that area per the Spanish Springs area planning plan. So here's a layout of the campus. It's on the left is sort of a big picture, but I've highlighted in yellow where the admin building is, and then on the right is a little closer up view, and it's shown in the orange, and I've highlighted proposed office addition. And then I also showed where the daycare facility is, and then also you can see in the dark brown is where the worship center is. So the admin building is basically right off the worship center building. Here's some elevations showing the proposed building. And some more. And then these are the floor plans. So you can see that there are several floors and that they have different things on different floors. The applicant did host a neighborhood meeting on the 4th of June. They had no attendees. The meeting was held at the church. 116 parcels were noticed. I didn't receive any emails. I did receive one phone call just objecting to the church expanding at all. They were not in favor of the church's activities. Various agencies have reviewed this application, and their comments are included in the staff report, and those with conditions are shown in the conditions of approval. I am asking to amend one condition, amend 2C. It's under engineering. When we changed it a bit to trip generation, the trip generation letter demonstrating no negative impacts to existing roadways shall be submitted with the building application, and the trip generation shall also be submitted to NDOT for review and approval. Pyramid is an NDOT road, so this needs to also go to NDOT. Staff is able to make the 4 findings as required and as shown in the staff report and recommends approval. And here's a possible motion. The applicant is available, I believe, on the phone, and they do not have a presentation, but I'm available for any questions if you need anything answered.
Okay. Does the applicant want to make any comments or anything at this time? Oh.
Lonnie Johnson with JUB Engineers, civil engineer on the project. Here just for questions, if you have any. Julie covered the bases pretty well. So,
Thank you. At this time, let's open up public comment for this matter. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay, and we'll close that public comment and bring it back to the board for questions, discussion. Okay, then can I get a motion, please?
Leo Harishny. I move that, given reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during this public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approves the administrative permit case number WADmin 24-0009 for Summit Christian Church, with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washoe County Development Code, Section 110.808.25, consistency, improvements, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, or effects on military installation.
Okay, can I get a second?
Peter Gashan, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That brings us on to 8C, special use permit case number WSUP 24-0010 for the Dunlap residence. Mr. Floyd, would you please announce that?
Yeah, for possible hearing, for hearing, discussion and possible action to approve a special use permit for Washoe County Code, Section 110.81030, as required by Washoe County Code, Section 110.22385, to expand an existing 3,266 square foot residence to a 5,038 square foot residence by adding a new garage and elevator with living space connecting to an existing house. Again, representing Washoe County is planner Julie Olander.
Julie, floor's yours. Again.
Julie Olander for the record. So this is a request for a special use permit to expand an existing 3,200 square foot residence by 5,000 square feet to add a new garage and a garage elevator with a living space connected to an existing house. And this is required by the Tahoe area, Section 110.2020.385. The location is down in the Rocky Ridge Point, I think it's called. It's down south of Incline Village, off of State Route 28. So just to give a little background, on April 17th, an administrative review permit, case number WDAR 24002, was approved to allow an encroachment into the setbacks, which allowed the residents to extend as close as 6 feet from the front property line. And however, it was during that process that it was realized that this house needed a special use permit per 22385 code, section of code. The parcel didn't have a special use permit, and so it was explained to the applicant that they needed to also apply for a special use permit. So they applied for the special use permit because they're expanding the existing house. Additionally, there is no parking on this parcel, and bringing creating a 2-car garage will bring the parcel into better conformance with the requirements in 410. Here's sort of the outline of the existing, or the parcel, the site. In the light blue is where the existing house is. You can sort of see a dark line around the existing house, and then the highlighted yellow is where the proposed expansion is. And then on the right, you can sort of see what the existing house looks like. I just wanted you to get a clear view of what it's a fairly small house. So these are the elevations showing the existing house. Sort of shows better on that eastern elevation. You can sort of see what the existing house looks like. I don't know either way. Both of them show it pretty well, I guess. And then here's some more elevation showing the house. And you can see the older house on that western elevation is on the left side, and then the addition is to the right. So what they're proposing is on the entry level, they'll have a 2-car garage right off of the roadway, and then above that they're going to have a primary suite, and then above that they're having a family media room. No neighborhood meeting was required for this. I did send out notices were sent to the properties within, and in this area it was 2,000 feet, because I do have to notice at least 30 property owners, and we noticed 35. Various agencies have reviewed the application, and those comments are included in your staff report, and those with conditions are included in the conditions of approval. Staff is able to make the 4 findings, and a possible motion is found in your staff report. I'm available for questions, and I do believe that the applicant is available online.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation? No presentation?
Phil, if you would please unmute and state your first and last name for the record.
Yeah, thank you. Phil Gillenfar, architect and the representative for the owner. Thank you. Let's see, I'm not at the Planning Commission. I'm at the Board of Adjustment. I appreciate all of you and the time that you take to volunteer time to be on this board. So I'd also like to thank Julie and the staff along with Trevor. We worked very closely with the staff when we discovered that there was a special use permit in Rocky Point subdivision. Came much to us as a surprise because we've done other projects in that vicinity and did not go through the process of special use permit. We very quickly tried to make sure that we met all of the requirements with respect to findings through the evaluation and provided that information to the staff. We're complete support of all the conditions of approval. We've gone through all the conditions and find that all of them are easily resolved, including working with NDOT to have an encroachment permit on the highway side. It's really critical for this home. There's 2 other homes on the uphill side there in Rocky Point that don't have garages, and being able to have a garage to safely get off the street, safely park your car off of the highway core is really important. And of course, this is a very steep upslope lot, so that's why we're incorporating a elevator so there's easier access to get all the way up for this family. We would appreciate your support of approving this, and with all the conditions, we are accepting all the conditions that have been put together, and I'm available for any questions if there are any. So thank you.
All right, thank you. This time I'd like to open up public comment for this matter. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment in chambers or Zoom.
Okay, then I'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, Kathy Julian for the record. Yes, I have questions about how this project gets underway and accomplished, given the proximity to Highway 28, and given that I know the area. You're going to have to dig into the hillside, the mountainside, to develop the garage. I would like some clarification on how the machinery is going to work and how you're not going to be blocking a critical area of Highway 28, which leads into Sand Harbor and also is a main commute route from Carson City to Incline Village, where a lot of our workers commute to and from on a daily basis. So if maybe if Mr. Gillenfar can enlighten us on how that's going to be done.
Happy to do that. Thanks for bringing that up. We do have, I don't know if you can see the exhibit on page 4, the site plan. You'll see that there is a 1,200 square feet of off-site area that is off of the Lakeshore Boulevard right away, or off the, we call it Lakeshore Boulevard, but it's actually Highway 28 before the highway was designated. 1,200 square feet. This is the area that we'll be using for construction staging and for construction removal. We've worked with NDOT and we're going through, they don't really even think we need a traffic management plan, which is why we're kind of working together with them that we do a majority of the off-site material in that existing driveway. And then we may need to bring a truck in and out. And talking to the excavator, we're looking at using a smaller piece of equipment and a smaller dump trailer so that we can move that material over to the FW Carson yard, which is just about 3/4 of a mile down the road. So we're trying to stay off the highway because it creates a whole nother level of processing with NDOT if we go through a traffic management plan. At this point, our excavator has been there and we don't believe that we will be interfering with the traffic movement on Highway 28 in that section. I hope that answers your question.
I have a follow-up there. I'm looking at page 4, and I'm looking at the site plan, and I have to admit, it's kind of small, so it's really tough to see. Okay, so where are you thinking of putting the equipment that you're going to stage? Will it be on the lake side or on the
No.
on the mountain side?
I don't, I guess I can, I don't know that I can write on here, or can I? Yes, I can annotate. So this is the area where a truck can be parked, and an excavator or another truck can be parked here because we're working with the next door neighbor. And then they can excavate here and fill the dump trucks, and then those can come out onto the highway with just some very short signaling. And we're up on the opposite side of the highway because the lake houses on this side, and then the lake is over here. So this is kind of the idea of movement for this cut that we're creating right here.
So you'll be working with the next door neighbor and using some of their property to do this?
We actually did a variance and a project for them, and we're working with them to possibly even do their small little remodel at the same time. And then we would just coordinate that. But if they don't choose to do the construction at the same time, they don't use this house except only for seasonal period. So they said that we could share this area. This is all easement, the whole roadway system that's here, because these two properties were owned by the Callahan family for many years. And then this subject parcel was purchased by a different family, and there's still that shared access easement on the highway that's off the traveled way.
Okay, and perhaps a question for staff. NDOT hasn't looked at this yet, right?
Julie Olan, for the record, no, it was not routed to NDOT. It was routed to our engineering, and they have a condition in there that the applicant will need to work with NDOT to use the access along 28.
Okay.
So that's in the conditions.
Okay, and generally when NDOT looks at these encroachment, and this is perhaps a query for Mr. Lloyd, is there any public notice or public opportunity for the public to see what NDOT is reviewing and opine on anything that they are doing? Or once we approve this, does it simply go to NDOT and then that's it for the public scrutiny? There's no more opportunity for the public to enter into the discussion?
Well, anytime there's work within the right-of-way, it does require a permit through NDOT. Now, what that permit process looks like, and I do apologize, I'm not very familiar. I don't believe there's a public process and public hearing, for example. I believe it's handled administratively. Maybe Mr. Gillenfar can confirm that, but I am not familiar with a public process through NDOT.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can chime in on that. We have filed an application with NDOT, and we've gone through their process. They are not completed with that process yet, but that's where we determined that we could do all of the work outside of the traveled way and not interfere with traffic, except for bringing the truck in and out of the traffic through signaling. So NDOT has already processed that. They don't typically, with a project like this, go through a public hearing process, but I think the neighbors, we've communicated with most of them. I've worked on 3 of the homes right there in that neighborhood. And I think they're pretty much aware of kind of what that process takes. The house across the street was under construction for almost 5.5 years. But NDOT doesn't have a public process. However, they have a very, very stringent traffic control criteria. In addition to NDOT, we've also applied through the Nevada Environmental Protection Agency because we're within 200 feet of the water. So we're in addition to TRP review, we're also going through an NDEP review to make sure that any of the sediments that we have are controlled within the site. So we're trying to be very diligent on how we deal with the excavation here on this site, because it is in a very sensitive location. So I'm sensitive to the comments by the board because we are also kind of trying to follow that process with NDOT and the county and TRPA.
Okay, thank you. And just one last query, and it was kind of based on my question of IFGIT a moment ago, was what makes you think you're not going to encounter the same surface material that IFGIT encountered when they started digging? And how is this area different from what IFGIT found?
Well, we excavated across the street at Rocky Point on 2 different projects, one for the Steinheimers and also for the Finneys. And we know that there is a sandy loam of granite, decomposed granite construction there. And yes, we will run into large boulders. That's potential because the Tahoe Rim Trail or the new East Shore Trail was built and they encountered a number of boulders and things within the excavations. So we've had our excavator there, we've had our soil scientists there. So they're aware of kind of that soil situation. You get a little closer over to where the Sweetwater Road is, and you get into a little bit more of a higher level compacted soils and a little bit different soil type there because of the way that geographic area morphs. So we feel confident that that will be the case. Now, if we get into a situation where we have to do a road closure, we can't do a road closure, but if we get into a situation where we have to use some of the highway, which is unlikely, then we would be forced to stop construction until we went through a extensive traffic management plan with NDOT, got that fully approved, and then we could maneuver into the highway. But we don't anticipate that being the case.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah. Peter Gishon for the record. I think for staff, I'm preliminarily curious, how many different neighborhoods within Incline require special use permits for, I mean, is this an oddity?
It was an oddity as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Mr. Lloyd can be more precise.
This dates back to the adoption of the Tahoe Area Plan back in 2020, I believe. What happened at the request of TRPA is that we essentially adopted all of the new regulatory zones, which were formally identified as they were the PASs. And I apologize, it's drawing a blank on the name. However, it was a requirement within, I think, 3 or 4 regulatory zones in the Incline Village and Crystal Bay areas that have this requirement for a special use permit for a residence. And that includes expansion of a residence if the special use was never acquired. We caught that recently, and there was a number of, again, it's in a residential neighborhood. It's a very unique, very, I would say, a different requirement than we require anywhere else in Washoe County. Just wanted to give a heads up that this is one of the items that we've targeted for amending. We were when we bring forward the Tahoe Area Plan series of amendments, this is one of the high priorities, is to take a look at the table of uses within each one of the regulatory zones and where it is unique or not, where we cannot find substantial rationale for requiring an SUP. We're hoping to eliminate that requirement in the future.
And so to follow on that, if I can ask this correctly, we're only here because a building permit application was submitted. And we're not here to judge the building permit application. We're here to merely bring an otherwise conforming use into conformance with code.
That is, in this case, that is correct. It is an existing use, and they're looking to expand, and really you're looking at the expansion of that use. Right.
Go ahead. And then a couple more, I think. The admin permit into the encroachment into the setbacks, was that for the addition? Or was that to address some other condition on site?
Julie Oland, for the record, that's my understanding. It was for the, it came about because of the building permit. They were encroaching. They needed that admin permit to do that process. And unfortunately, it wasn't caught at that time that they also needed the special use permit. And so they had to do it. They would have had to do a two-step process anyway. So, but now they've had to come back in again.
And what is the normal setback?
I believe here it would have been 20 feet.
So how long is the driveway?
I'd have to look at that. There's no driveway. The garage is directly off of 280. There's this easement in the front of the property that's part of, just sort of a shoulder area, and that area is where they're proposing to use to do the construction work off of.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really not a driveway per se. They'll drive right directly into the garage.
So the garage is
So there's this.
here's the highway, and then the
Maybe can you put that
garage is
side?
how many feet away?
6. Isn't it 6?
Is it the 6? Or does the architect know?
I don't know. Bill might have a better.
I'm happy to answer that question
Okay.
if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
Seeing that thank you for putting that same drawing back up. So the property line is located on this line right here. So you're, 24 feet off of, well, it's almost 22 feet off of the traveled way, which is the line I just drew there. The garage is sitting another 5.5 feet back, 6 feet back. So, there's already off-street parking, but not on-site parking. So the only on-site parking would be then the two-car garage, which didn't previously exist. We had to go through this special process with TRPA, which allows for us to be able to bring up to 400 square feet of coverage onto the site in order to facilitate a garage and meet the requirement of Washoe County standard, which is that we need to have 2 parking spaces on site, one of which is contained in a garage. In this case, we're putting 2 on-site spaces, both inside the garage, and that was the purpose of the reduction. In this case, the standard reduction for the setback would be 15 feet because the map shows 20 feet, but because the site has a pitch of more than 20% upslope for more than half the property, and in this case, it's almost the entire property is over 20%, we can reduce to 15. So that would be this line here. And we asked under that process to reduce that slightly in order to reduce the coverage within that TRPA allowance so that we could facilitate an on-site parking plan for this project and not just have highway parking.
Have you submitted building plans to the county?
Yes, our building plans are approved. With the exception of this special use permit, our TRPA permit is approved, which also went through a special use permit process. And then we are just finalizing the process with you through the special use permit. And then the last element will be to comply with the special use permit findings. We have to have NDOT's final approval, which we are hoping to have in the next few days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Questions, discussion.
Okay, I'll bring it in for discussion. Go ahead.
Okay. Kathy Julian for the record, and I don't want to give the impression that I don't agree with the concept of building a garage for this house, because by all means it would benefit from having a garage. It would be much safer. But to your point, this is very, very tight here. There's practically no room for anything on that site, which prompted my query as to how are they planning to build this. And my only concern is that it does not create havoc for the commuters that are coming to and from Carson City on a daily basis, and of course the traffic going to Sand Harbor during the summer. Now, the architect has indicated that there is plans to have this constructed not encroaching on the roadway, and I take it the roadway encroachment when trucks are turning in and out would be not turning in and out, and perhaps this is a clarification, they're not turning in and out all the time, but just when they go into the site and when they come off the site. But remember, the site is practically just a shoulder on the road, and Highway 28 is going 45 miles an hour in that area. So it's a 45-mile-an-hour zone, lots of commuters, lots of tourists, and people and pedestrian traffic crossing to and from to get access to the trail going, to Hidden Beach and those places. So that was my concern. So I think I'm actually very happy that it had to go for a special use permit. And this isn't your typical suburban residential area. It's a major highway right next to the lake with perhaps 5 houses on one side and a few houses on the other side, very steep. So it's not what I would say a typical residential area. So I can certainly understand why TRPA has a special use permit concept here. And so that's just my comment there. But fully supportive of these people having their garage.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any discussion points or anything?
No, Peter Kishon for the record. I think I'd only like to say that I'm glad that the county has already approved building plans, and TRPA has approved a special use permit. I don't think it's our job to judge the quality or substance of the remodel, but we're here to talk about a special use permit for an otherwise existing non-conforming use. So I'd be in favor.
Okay. No more discussion. I'll entertain a motion then.
Okay. Leo Harishny for the record. I move that, giving reasoned consideration today to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approves with conditions special use permit case number WSUP 24-0010 for Gilles Architecture, with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.810.30, consistency, improvements, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, or its effects on military installation.
Great. Do we have a second?
Peter Kishon, I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us on to item number 9, chair and board items, future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agenda items they would like to talk about later? No? Okay. What request for information from staff? No? How do you win the lottery? That's a good question. Reports from previous Board of Adjustments items.
Okay, I have a few to report on. There was an appeal of the Caluire special use permit. That was another single-family residence that came before this body. Was heard by the County Commission on the August 20th meeting, and they affirmed the decision of the Board of Adjustment and denied the appeal. Also on August 20th, I wanted to bring this to your attention. It wasn't a board meeting, a board item, but it does affect this board, and that is the fact that we did a pretty substantial amendment to the grading code and relaxed some of the standards and beefed up some of the other standards. If anyone is interested, I can walk you through what those changes are after this meeting. But that was also heard by the County Commission on a second reading, and it was adopted. Finally, another item that affects this board was the code amendment to Article 310 involving care of the infirm. That item was heard by the Planning Commission at the Tuesday meeting. They recommended approval. What this will do is expand those who can sign for a person needing rather than it being just a physician, we'll also expand it to a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner.
That was
so
fast.
That will be a good one. Yes.
Yeah, that was fast.
That was a very good one.
And that's all that I have. Also, we will be having another training for both the Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission. We're looking at mid-November, so we'll let you know when we pick a time and date for that hearing or that training.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Looking forward to your lunch again. Anything from legal?
No, Chair.
All right. Let's open up public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment in chambers or Zoom.
All right, we'll close that, and it is 2:19. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.